This week on Bill Nye the Science Guy. Glucosinolates.
Hey guys, I'm Dr. Phil.
I'm Dr. Pepper.
I'm Dr. Who.
And I'm Dr. Doctor.
And today we will be presenting glucosinolates, and more specifically glucobrassicin, which I'll be jumping into right now. Alright guys, so I'm Dr. Phil, and today I'll be going into a brief introduction of glucosinolates. So glucosinolates are secondary metabolites, and they're products of the brassica family and other related families. Some good examples of the brassica family, if you're unfamiliar with them, are mustard, cabbage, and crucifers.
Mustard!
So there's over 200 different substituents of glucosinolates, and they're split up into three classes. You have your aliphatic class, your aromatic class, and your indole class. So our primary glucosinolate indole of interest is glucobrassicin. And glucobrassicin, whenever the plant experiences damage, it will combine with this myrosinase enzyme. And the mechanism between the two produces a indole 3-carbinol. And this indole 3-carbinol, also known as I3C, is something my colleagues will be talking about just a little bit later in the video. And so, through a similar mechanism, glucosinolates will combine with myrosinase, also in plant damage, to form these isothiocyanates. And these isothiocyanates are of particular importance to researchers because they have antimicrobial, antioxidant, and antifungal properties. And now to elaborate just a little bit more on glucosinolates in food is my colleague, Dr. Pepper.
Good evening. So we know how the chemicals in food affect how healthy they are, but did you know that the ways that foods are prepared can change what chemical components are in the foods that we eat?
Really?
Foods that include glucosinolates such as cabbage, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, or kale, which are foods that we didn't want to eat as kids. These foods can be prepared so that they not only taste better, but contain compounds that make them healthier for you. Sauerkraut is pickled cabbage, which has been fermented, and throughout the fermentation process, it causes the breakdown of glucosinolates into their other products. Glucobrassicin is almost completely broken down, and that is our particular glucosinolate that we are focusing on. After fermentation, it has the most presence of the positive health effects, while the least amount of negative compounds. And now to Dr. Who to talk more specifically about how this happens.
So as Dr. Pepper was saying, food preparation can be a big deal in glucobrassicin. So when you're chopping up cabbage or broccoli, it damages the plant tissue, which activates the enzyme myrosinase, which will react with glucobrassicin. And in the research that I was studying, cooking methods can really affect this process as well, because the myrosinase will use the water molecules to hydrolyze glucobrassicin, and this will result in indole 3-carbinol, also known as I3C, which possesses anti-cancer properties, which was further studied by Dr. Doctor.
Thanks, Dr. Who. In a recent study, there were 25 adults who consumed different types of vegetables, one of them being cabbage, having a low glucobrassicin concentration, and the other being Brussels sprouts, having a high glucobrassicin concentration. For 3 days, the urine samples were collected from these adults to monitor their DIM content. DIM stands for 3,3'-diindolylmethane. Basically, they were able to find out that the amount of glucobrassicin concentration consumed was directly linked to the amount of I3C in the blood, which was directly linked to the amount of DIM content in the urine. So, by measuring the DIM content in the urine samples of the adults, we were able to see how much I3C each of these adults have. Since I3C, as we know, is linked to anti-cancer compounds, those adults that had more DIM in their urine ultimately had more I3C and more anti-cancer. So, high glucobrassicin, high levels of anti-cancer compounds, happiness.
In summary to what we went over, what molecule is formed from the hydrolysis of glucobrassicin, and what does it confer to humans? I'll give you all a second. Alright, the answer is indole 3-carbinol, and it has anti-cancer effects.
That's all for now, kids. Stay tuned for next week's episode of Bill Nye the Science Guy. Please note this is not an actual Bill Nye the Science Guy video, and all rights are reserved to the real Bill Nye and his science videos.